time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here.
And with Barnet Bain. Good moment, everyone. Good moment, Freeman.
We're waiting for a phone call.
We're waiting for our buddy John Gray.
Oh, you're not supposed to say what the no show
I have
is?
to say it. He's our dear buddy. I can only say it because he's our friend.
That's good.
So
he may or may not be here.
He may or may not be here.
This may or may not be the show.
How funny is that? If he's not here this time, folks, then we will try not to run too much of a guilt trip on him. He'll be here next time. But
oh my goodness!
Yeah, so,
another no-show show.
You know, in 4 years we've had two. This would be the second one, right?
I think we've actually probably had more than that.
You think we have?
I don't know.
I don't think we've had. We've only had.
Well, we've had people cancel in the last minute, which means we had to scramble to get somebody.
We had three then.
Yeah,
one person other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so
hey, how are you?
A little
hey, Spence, how are you, man?
A little confused right now.
A lot of confusion going on. Lots and lots of chaos going on. So many energies of so many possibilities, so many more possibilities than ever existed before, because we were always so all on the same page about what futures were possible, and less so now. So there's this whole menu of possibilities ranging from things that are wildly beautiful to the most horrendous barbaric. And they're all this energetic, it's like a confluence of energies, and they're all in the here and now, and we don't know where to turn.
Yeah.
So important to find your own light and to hold it. And to hold it close.
That's a really good point. And then the other piece of this is, you and I spoke about this the other day. I often say that mixed feelings is a natural state. It's our mind that organizes our feelings into what they mean, that gives them, applies meaning or applies a reason. I'm upset because, or I feel this way because. There's a because. There has to be a because.
Yeah.
And then we have to delineate it to a single feeling. I'm mad, or I'm sad.
Yeah, just shoehorn it down.
Right, but we can't be like this weird collection of both. It's interesting because when we first started the show and I said I'm confused, meaning there's more than one thing going on at the same time.
That's a good. That's a good thing. You're confused.
Yeah. So at one point in my life, I remember as an actor, when more than one thing was going on at the same time, my teacher used to say, pick one. Yeah. Just pick one and follow it. The other one will find its way in. Don't worry about it. Just go with one. And then the other thread, and now I'm kind of scattering these ideas out, and we'll see which one we want to pick up, is that sometimes confusion operates as a kind of way that I shut down. I'm confused. There's another way it operates. Confusion as a defense mechanism, where I throw up my confusion so I don't have to make a choice, right? In this moment, it has more to do with this, I don't know which feeling to go with. I'm full of feeling, but I don't know.
Go between.
Which one to follow.
Go between.
Right.
The power is in the between. So
well, the between is interesting because the between is almost a waiting. Like I'm waiting to see which one emerges as the strongest.
Well, that's exactly that's exactly so. That's a surrender, but you're not buying into a story. You know, there's that wonderful old saying that I say that like, you know, it's like it's out everywhere, but there's this wonderful expression that you dream or you will be dreamed by others.
That's right.
So I believe that speaks directly to your point. There are so many of these chaotic energies that are around, any one of which could precipitate into your reality.
Totally.
The determinant is which one do you actively choose or which one do you unconsciously allow. And so, you know, we get triggered all over the place and we hear this, all these inner voices. And many of them have points of view that are more or less in arrested development from earlier versions of ourselves as young adults, as younger adults, as adolescents, as teens, as children, as small children. all of whom have different worldviews and who are holding different character styles that we talked about before, and responses to life, and tied up with feelings and bad feelings and memories, and we go along in our daily life, and something comes up and it triggers one of those things. Could be from last week, could be from 30 years ago, and to the degree that we are aware, it's a conscious co-fusion as opposed to an unconscious confusion. Then we can say, well, I recognize what that is and where that's from and what that pattern is, and I can love it, and I'm not going to make a choice to empower it.
Right.
I'm just going to I'm going to let it blow through me. I'm going to let it, I'm going to be in the between of it and see what emerges, whether it's happening in the inner world, the inner landscape of our thoughts and feelings, or on the outer screen of what's happening in our lives and in our world and on the news. And
yeah, no, this is really important. We walked in the studio today, and our engineer and producer was saying,
train's broken, he said.
He was talking about also being triggered and not making a decision from that triggered place, like really pausing, because you make the decision from the triggered place and you're going to run down that road. And so, again, language for us, we got to be a little careful not to keep repeating language, but I do like the language of putting the clutch in. Can I pause my reactive patterning enough, know that it's going on, or even in the middle of a reactive pattern, right? I'm running down the road and I go, oh, I'm going down this road, and there's an awareness, or the other language is the story. I'm starting to promote that story. Is that the story I want to promote? And sometimes it's the only story we can come up with, and so we got to play it out, okay. And then there's this picking up the pieces, going, wow, I did that again.
Yeah, this is a consciousness piece. This is an expansion of consciousness, so that your seat of consciousness has a wider perspective on all of the energies that are moving through us, and that we are tempted to become reactive to.
Yeah. So the other night I don't know if it was night or day, but we were on the phone maybe a few days ago, and I was saying that the ride of these intense feelings that had been coming up for me, probably similar to what you were discussing when we first started, like there's a lot of chaoticness. And in the past, that was too much for me to hold. Similar to mixed feelings, I try to figure it out, right? Or I do one of the spiritual bypasses, the apply some kind of, I'm okay, and run a mantra or do something so that I'm trying to suppress.
Affirm.
Or affirm, which is not to diminish those tools. They're great tools. But I do feel like I'm at a place in my life where I can handle the humanity, the challenges of humanity, and even the challenges of my particular version of humanity, right? All the little voices that jump in, all the tendencies. I can kind of out those in a way where I go, oh yeah, that's here too, and then navigate far murkier waters than I would have been comfortable with in the past. In the past, I would have wanted to clear it up, which meant choose a particular thread of possibility and play that out as if it's real, versus sit in the middle of it and go, these are all real. I'm just trying to figure out which one is the one I prefer and where I want to go with it all. And I can sit in the liminal not knowing longer, which means, something will arise that is more maybe authentic or something that is more
innovative.
Yeah. Or more even insightful. Like I love the word insight, meaning a new thought. Like I love that aha. But just where, even if everyone said it around me and I've heard it 12 times, the moment it becomes real for me is a powerful thing versus the kind of way of crunching everything down to fit a particular storyline or platform in our industry. So yeah.
I just love the way you're speaking about this. I'm increasingly close to an understanding, a new understanding for me, that everything I experience gets translated through my own kind of blueprint of personal experience. And so to grow, to access more, I am popping into neutral on my first response and first reactions to things that come up. You know, there's so much. Oh, I bet you that's John Gray.
Hey, let's take a quick break. When we get back, we will have John Gray with us here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Stay with us.
We'll have John Gray with us here on Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Welcome back. Well, we have big news.
I think they already know.
They do already know. But for anybody that is tuning in, John Gray has turned up, has been found. For the one or two of you who live under a rock, John's the best-selling relationship author of all time, including Cutting Edge Consciousness time. He's the author of way too many books for me. What is it, 20, 25 books?
A lot of books.
A lot of books. A lot of books. A lot more books than we've read.
I've read all of them. Come on, Barnett.
Including the best-selling relationship book of ever. Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Welcome, John.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
It's so good to have you here.
It's so good to talk to you.
This is actually, we managed to find somebody that sounds pretty good, almost the same as John Gray. So it's right. So good. Well, before the break, and John, you're going to jump into this conversation, feet first. Before the break, where were we?
Well, look, we were talking a little bit about mixed feelings and the ability to handle the
paradox.
Or just be in the middle, kind of the liminal place where more than one thing is going on, and we don't feel so inclined to choose. We don't feel so inclined, I'm going to say it this way, to play it a particular way, because there's a kind of enough wisdom to know that if we run down that path, we know what we're going to get. So there's you use the language putting the clutch in, right? So instead of just going into that gear and knowing that we're going to, then speed up and run down the road, that we can go, and there's an element of choosing, which I think when we're talking about relationships is really critical, because I know in relationship with my wife, if we start in a particular, let's say, argument that's a rerun of the last 12 arguments, we kind of know where it's going to go. And there's some element of consciousness, awareness that allows us, to make a different choice or no choice, to be in the middle of it.
To make an innovative choice.
I love the word.
To have an awareness of what some of the possibilities are, and some of the familiar possibilities, and some of the unfamiliar possibilities, both constrictive and expansive. Wonderful and...
I'm going to jump in here.
Jump in!
That's what we wanted.
I see that there's two aspects here that you both talked about. I love them. One, and then I'm going to talk about a third, because there's three of us. Okay, one is... is to be able to stand in a space where you have a choice, okay, where you go, I can go left or I can go right. You've got to have consciousness to stand in that space.
Yes.
You've also got to know that you've got to be able to see that there's two roads.
Or more. Or
more, that's right, and there's always more. That's the creative thought of Barnett, which is there's always more.
That's me.
But that's where education comes in. You have to have some education that says, all right, if I can do this, or I could do this, or I could do this and get this outcome. But at the same time, you have to be able to stand back, have the consciousness to go, okay, I can choose this way, I can choose that way, and that would be the consciousness. And now we're going to bring in another aspect of it, which is the lack of consciousness. What's causing the lack of consciousness?
Yes.
It's actually something going on, which is, the theme of my work I'm doing, and I was just working with ADHD kids, for example, ADHD adults and so forth.
Takes one to know one.
I think we can be part of your support group if you want one.
So impulsiveness being one type of symptom. There's lots of different symptoms of this condition. A lot of things are put into it. So I'm helping a little boy who's got ADHD, and I'm helping to explain to him that his thoughts are running too fast. And teacher, he's always asking questions, putting his hand up. He doesn't take time to let things sink in. It's running real fast. And I said, you know how your thoughts are running real fast. It's a 12-year-old boy. And he says, what do you mean, my thoughts? Mm-hmm. And I said, you know, you have a thought, then you speak out. And he goes, I think you're talking about why the teacher says I ask too many questions. I'm talking too much. And in that moment, I realized this boy had been on Ritalin for many, many years.
No self-awareness.
And no self-awareness. And I can remember with one of my daughters, it was so cute. And she was 4 years old. And she came to me and she says, Daddy, I can hear myself talking in my brain. And so there at 4 years old, she was beginning to develop that self-awareness, whereas this child, for example, that I was just talking about, had been taking Ritalin since he was 6 years old, and so never developed that self-awareness. And this is what's happening to, you know, it's a bit downer to talk about, but we need to talk about it because it's so rampant. 1 out of 5 boys, probably 1 out of 10 boys, when you look at when they started Adderall or Ritalin since they were 6 years old and never developed the self-awareness, which then allows you to make those kind of choices. And also it gives you an awareness that, gee, this is not me. They don't even have a sense of me, so that when they take a drug, to realize the drug is taking me away from being me.
Yes, the drug is barbaric in its impact of eliminating any possibility of accessing the true self. And what I love about this is that it is a wonderful metaphor.
It is a metaphor
because we are all at some level estranged from the more of who we are.
Well, and just the slowing down. I mean, I love this idea that my thoughts are running too fast. This is how many times do I look? I feel like my life is running too fast. Clearly, my patterning is too automated. You know, the idea of slowing down, self-awareness,
take a breath,
and then the discipline or practice, whether it's meditation or whatever, yoga, I don't know, walking in the park, I don't know, some way, there's some contemplative outlet to slow down.
Take a breath, become mindful. Johnny, what do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Any practice, that's why there's so many practices where you choose to slow down creates greater self-awareness because you're now slowing down instead of this stimulation. And that's the theme of the new book, which is staying focused in a hyper world. The hyper world we live in overstimulates us, which then causes desensitizing of the brain to normal stimulation, so we start to crave hyperstimulation. And this is an addictive pattern that we're, as generally as a society, we become bored too quickly. Our attention span is much, much shorter. There's lack of depth because we're speeded up.
Well,
and,
so it's even addicted to distraction. And there's another addiction in this too, which is the numbing out, because everything goes so fast that then the response is to numb out or to crash.
Absolutely, which is the lyrics in one of those wonderful songs on the radio today, which is
on our show.
Everything that makes me feel alive, everything that kills me makes me feel alive.
Yeah, yeah.
We're numbed out. So we need this extra stimulation, which numbs us out even more as an outcome of it. And this is the way the brain works. If you overstimulate it, then it desensitizes. If you calm it down and take time to relax, it becomes more sensitive, and you don't have to then speed around. And we have to constantly check this. What I see is you know, for the mass society, just having email, where I go down my email every day, every email is a choice. Every time you make a choice or a decision, it's a stimulation of the brain, and it's also producing free radicals, and it also stimulates cortisol, stress hormone. The major cause of stress is making decisions, because whenever you make a decision or a choice, you have to, it's win or lose. I might succeed, I might fail, I might be loved, I might be rejected, and that, you know, a little bit of that's no problem. That's life. But suddenly everybody is making millions more decisions than ever before. The amount of information that we're having to pick between is just eons beyond anything the human brain has ever encountered.
And we know when we're under stress and that cortisol kicks in, the prefrontal cortex kind of shuts down, that we go to an automated response system.
Exactly, which is what happens with couples when they say, well, you're not hearing my point of view. You cannot hear another point of view from your own if you don't have that prefrontal cortex activated. All you can do is go into an automated response based upon your perspective of the world.
So overwhelm and inundation the response to overwhelm and inundation, which is just a condition that is becoming more and more the norm, is to slow down. It's very difficult for people to slow down. It's very difficult.
It's very difficult.
They're threatened by the idea that I'm going to miss something.
That's right. That's
I'm going
right.
to be left behind.
But I have all these people on Facebook that are relying on me, all 4,000 of them, right?
Exactly. I have to like every one of them.
Yeah, if I'm not liking what they have to say, they won't like what I have to say, and then the whole crazy making will slow down.
But it is very difficult. Kidding aside, it's very, very difficult. People are very threatened with the idea of slowing down.
Well, once our brains are hyperstimulated, then we go numb if we don't get more stimulation. And there's a range of stimulation now that we can choose from. You can choose from soft drinks, sugar. Sugar stimulates the same part of the brain that cocaine stimulates. It stimulates dopamine in the nucleus accumbens, which is where all addictions get stimulated.
I don't know if we're allowed to say that on the radio.
Yeah, we may get fined for that. You got to tuck your nucleus accumbens.
Come on, this is not internet here.
This is not science radio. We're cutting edge conscious. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's actually, I love the science of it. What you're pointing to, and this is John. This is your background. I mean, what's beautiful about the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus is that it presents things that you later find scientific research that backs. But what I like about that, again, as a metaphor, is we know things before we have to actually know them in a, I don't know, in a more factual, data-based way. I mean, there's enough already that we don't need all the data, you know, that we know already. In other words, I was talking about mixed feelings as being natural, and then the other part of that is in my gut, is when I attune to my gut, and I'm aware of the feelings,
enteric,
and I can be with them, I can make good decisions. This whole language, trust your gut, well, that only works if you're in touch with your gut.
It only works if you have a healthy gut.
Right.
I mean, there's literally... The latest, again, to go a little bit with the data, but with the Genome Project, they discovered all these different genes, right? The human genes, and then there's genes in bacteria. And in our body, in our gut, there's 9 times more bacteria cells than there are human cells in our whole body. And then when you add up all the different genes that are in the bacteria, 99% of the genes that are in our body are alien to human. There's only 1% of our genes are actually human.
They're from Mars.
Well, wait a minute. I'm a guy, so am I.
Directly responsible for that.
All right, listen, we got to take a little break here.
Don't move. We'll be right back.
We'll
John,
be back
don't
to talk
move.
all about the bacteria in our gut and all the other things we have to discuss.
We're going to sell some stuff first. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness, thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain and John Gray, talking about distraction.
I'm so distracted.
I'm so distracted right now. It's so...
Where were we?
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I got distracted.
I'm trying to stay focused in a hyper world.
And by the way, that is the title of John's newest book.
It is.
I know.
It is. Say a little bit about staying focused in a hyper world, John.
I mean, you already have, but say more.
Yeah.
Well, we know ADHD. We see it in children. We don't realize how it affects marriages. We don't realize how it affects dating. And we don't realize that later stages of dementia and Alzheimer's are just later stages of ADHD, as well as Parkinson's. They all come from a condition in the brain called oxidative stress, which in short comes from our being hyperstimulated in the world, and which interferes with our gut, our ability to digest our food, and then that interferes with our ability to neutralize stress in the brain, which causes neurons to die prematurely. And that's what causes ADHD at children and onward as we get older.
So one of the things I'm struck by is how many amazing people have ADHD and obviously have found a way to self-regulate and to take the constructive components and make something out of them. You know, I'm thinking of, like the guy who started Kinko's, Paul, I'm blanking on his last name. But I mean, there's a whole myriad of people. I mean, there's a bunch of famous people who have done sort of really interesting, amazing things, and they're compelling people. What is the... So we recognize that there's a
food component to this as well, isn't there?
There's a big food component, and let's just clarify something, and let me make a distinction. There's amazing people. People are amazing, and we all have different forms of genius, and one form of genius that you're referring to is the creative type person.
Right.
And creative type people, when they experience oxidative stress in their brain, then they have more of this distraction, the procrastination type symptoms. They're very creative, and they tend to be drawn to drugs, etc., to stimulate their ADHD. But their success is not coming from their ADHD. Their success is coming from their creativity. And when you're a creative person and you happen to be successful at it, your brain is working faster. You're getting stimulation, and you need nutrition for that. So what happens, it's like a car that runs faster needs more gas, so to speak, or a better form of octane gas. And so you run out of nutrition faster. That creates the problems, or so, in a sense, the side effects of being successful or famous or brilliant or having adulation, people who love you a lot. That stimulates a lot of oxidative stress in the brain as well. The more excited we get in life, the more stimulated we are, the more free radicals our body, that's more energy. You're pumped up. Making energy produces free radicals. And if you don't have enough antioxidants to neutralize those free radicals, it becomes oxidative stress, which creates then side effects. You know, one of the most, if we look at Robin Williams, grew up here in my neighborhood. You know, Robin, right from the beginning, was genius, who was also extremely hyperactive. I mean, that was his comedy, which was being hyperactive. And actually, when diagnosed, he's bipolar because he was totally out there in the public, but alone, he was extremely depressed and in despair. And he used drugs to medicate himself. And basically, he didn't have the right nutrition. You go on stage, you perform, you're pumped up. Now you're deficient in all of the nutrients that protect you from oxidative stress. You've literally just used up all your antioxidants, and now brain cells start dying, and you feel depressed. And this is what goes on. And if you'd only known about certain mineral supplements that are super antioxidants that will neutralize.
All right, I have my pencil out.
Yeah, we're both now already.
I'm poised. I'm poised to find food and supplements.
To find food and supplements?
Yep.
No, which ones are the ones that are supportive of counteracting the oxidated stress?
So one of the most important is undenatured whey protein. Undenatured whey protein is high in something called cysteine. If it's pasteurized whey, it doesn't work. But if it's undenatured, which means it's unpasteurized whey protein, every day helps your body to make glutathione. Glutathione's the thing that protects the brain from the free radicals. So that's one. Two, addiction to sugar raises insulin levels, which also inhibits...
I'm off sugar.
Which inhibits glutathione. That's really good to be off sugar.
I'm off sugar.
No, that's one of my major addictions is sugar. Actually, that's one of my big challenges. So keep going.
It's a hard one, and I don't tell people you have to get off it fully. You just don't have to have it every day. Our brain is designed to eat lots of sugar, but not every day. It's like if in the caveman days, if you saw a cherry tree, you'd eat all the cherries in one day. It didn't damage you. You just stored it as fat, and it didn't cause any problem. But if you do it every day, it then inhibits the glutathione that protects your brain from all the damage and so forth. So then the other one, the major one, is when you eat sugar, it depletes you of a particular mineral, which is the brain mineral called lithium. And lithium is misunderstood because doctors prescribed it for bipolar and so forth. It's actually good for everybody, but you don't need to take toxic doses. They give toxic doses, so it has side effects, because their form of lithium is ineffective in getting into the brain. Lithium orotate is an over-the-counter $15 supplement for a 2-month supply. So cheap, so easy, nobody's going to do double-blind studies on it, but it crosses the blood-brain barrier because it's bonded to whey protein. There's an ingredient in whey protein which is called orotic acid. It bonds to that, becomes lithium orotate, low dose, you self-medicate. Basically, it's just like you take calcium and magnesium, you also take lithium orotate. And the more sugar you consume or the more carbohydrates you consume, the more you need to take this substance, which is proven to neutralize the free radical stress in the brain, which causes all these conditions. So those would be some of the major ones.
And what about foods? Any particular foods?
Berries, lots of berries.
Blueberries.
Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries. All of your berries are super high in antioxidants, and they also, they have the antioxidants to neutralize the free radicals produced by the sugar that's in the berry, and they've got extra antioxidants. That basically just means they have more electrons in them. Now, there's supplements that you can, for ADHD, quick results for some people. Some people need more work on their gut, but for quick results for everybody to get some improvement, is high doses of vitamin C, not that high, like 1,000 milligrams a day, and about 500 milligrams of something called pycnogenol or grapeseed extract. Grapeseed extract's cheaper, and it's a super antioxidant that has extra electrons that makes the vitamin C 50 times more potent. And, and
it's a bit rough on your gut, though, isn't it, vitamin C?
It is if you take too much. There's also a form of liposomal there's a form of vitamin C called liposomal vitamin C that's not rough on your gut at all. And it's the equivalent of doing an IV drip of vitamin C. That's, for people that want big results, that's even more powerful. But just 500 milligrams of vitamin C twice a day is not going to be hard on your gut. There's a difference between ascorbic acid vitamin C and ascorbate. You want to go with the ascorbate, and 500 milligrams twice a day with a couple hundred milligrams each time of grapeseed extract. And I see kids just immediately shift into focus, and that's one of the double-blind studies in my book I talk about that has proved to be better than Ritalin and Adderall. No side effects. You're healing the condition rather than suppressing
That's a very low bar, John. Better than Ritalin and Adderall.
It is a low bar. It is a low bar, but at least it's telling people don't do the drugs.
Well, we're back to a kind of, systemic way of looking at how quick we are to medicate. And I think the challenge is everything is sped up. Everything's got to happen fast. And there's something to working with natural substances that's a little more, it takes a little more thought, takes a little more challenge. It isn't one pill.
It takes more consciousness.
It takes more consciousness. It takes more of a commitment to something on the other side of maintaining the status quo. In other words, there has to be a sense of a possibility beyond the limited scope of what so many of us have been conditioned to accept as a good idea. It's easier to play the easy outcome than to have a broader sense of possibility for our lives and the consciousness to pursue it.
Now, I have a question for you. You are a passionate guy. You're also a deeply compassionate man. And I want you to, I don't know whether you've sat down and considered that in any way, but I'd be curious for your thoughts about how you hold that relationship.
Barnett, you always bring something brilliant out of the box. I never even considered that. I'm always talking about in marriage, I've been married 30 years, how to sustain the passion in the marriage. And I realized as you're talking that one of the gifts for me, just because of my occupation, is people pay me to be compassionate. I mean, there's not...
Yeah, you're like an oxytocin machine.
I am. I just thrive on particularly women who come to me for counseling because I help them cry. And when women cry, it just opens my heart, It just opens my heart. It makes it's such a blessing. I read somewhere in some study that...
Sandy says that when she does that and I cry, that it's disturbing. But tell us about the study.
Just if a man can listen to a happy woman talk for 10 minutes, it will brighten his day. Yeah. It's such a phenomenal. And the flip side of a happy woman is a woman connected with emotion, and a happy woman is experiencing her appreciation and gratitude. But a woman who's actually tender and crying, she's a trusting woman. You see,
but that is a muscle that is developed. That requires attention and focus and care and mastery to be able to listen to anyone, much less a spouse.
Barnett,
that's compassionate.
It really is a skill, and I teach that skill. That's why I keep trying to get you up to my ranch.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Also for the food. I'm coming.
It's literally, but I don't know about the food for compassion. Compassion, you have to have always the nutrition to support behavioral changes.
I'm just talking about your cooking.
You like my eggs, huh?
I'm just coming for the eggs. Exactly.
I make the best eggs. The training, women have the potential to open men's hearts. Men have the potential to make it safe for women to love. But
I want you to repeat that, because that is a soundbite we'll use.
Okay. I forgot what I said.
It's the ADHD.
You said you want me to come up and you're going to make eggs.
Women have the potential. Women have the potential to open a man's heart. And men have the potential to make it safe for women to love. When a woman shows her vulnerability in a loving context, it opens a man's heart. If my wife is waving a sword at me, a sword comes out. But when she opens her heart and she shows a vulnerability and asks for my help, in a place that, I'm like her hero, so to speak, or she depends on me in a positive way, just melts me. I'll go to the ends of the world to be a better person.
But there's a consciousness there, because one of the challenges, and actually I think you cover this in your book, is when a woman shows up emotionally, more often men seek to fix it, to solve it, to be the hero, versus to be in the experience of the feelings and be with them. So there's some, at least in my mind.
Oh, you hit it right on the nail.
Yeah, there's some kind of the practice, again, what Barnett was talking about, practicing compassion. We become okay in the discomfort involved in sitting in the hurt or the feelings that are coming up.
That's exactly right. That's the training, and that's part of the potential that women have. If men can just take in what you just said, is as soon as a woman is disturbed, distressed, emotional in a not positive way, a man he loves her. He wants to help her. He wants to support her. And we're trained, evolution, we're trained that if a woman's in distress, you go kill somebody, or you go put out a fire, or you go build a tent. You do something. And when men are stressed, we want to do something. And the higher consciousness that we're moving into recognizes that presence, being able to empathize, being able to stand in somebody's shoes is a doing. Because we have to feel like we're doing, because we're testosterone-oriented. We have 30 times more testosterone. When there's stress, our testosterone goes up to say, do something. So we get restless. We want to do something. And if we can translate that doing into kind of a Zen non-doing.
That's a higher octave of doing.
That's right. It's a higher octave of doing. And it's a training, and here's how women can help train their husbands. Our partners can do this. If a woman says to a man, I'm going to tell you about some problems I have, not about you, then you don't have to get defensive. I'm going to share with you some of my vulnerable feelings about challenges I'm experiencing in my life, and I'm quite capable of dealing with them. I just want to share them with you. You don't have to say anything and do anything. I just need your attention. If you will just not say anything, do anything, and listen for 5 minutes, I will feel better. And if she can then do that and then feel better, he experiences, oh, I just did that.
I feel better already.
But there's some training on her part as well in relaying the information so that it's I'm just reporting how it feels to be me versus what you did or didn't do, right?
And it's even that, and I'm relaying to you how I feel, not with the intent that you're supposed to fix it or do something about it.
Yes.
Because that's the difference between sharing and complaining. If I'm in a restaurant and I say, I want to talk to, this soup is too cold, I want to talk to the manager, I'm not just sharing this soup is too cold. I'm telling him about a problem, and I want him to do something about it.
So there's a distinction here that has to do with authentic. When I'm sharing myself with my friend Barnett or with you, John, and I'm sharing how it feels to be me, it's not because I'm trying to get something. There's something in the sort of, I don't want to get too languagey, but in the kind of way that some people share their feelings where I want to run out of the room. It's not generous, right? It's not really a sharing. It feels like a manipulation, or they're trying to get something. It's egoic. Or it's just, it's from the wounded place sometimes in a way that they don't have ownership of it, right? But when someone authentically just shares how it feels to be them, and I know that they can handle it, they can handle themselves in this moment, and I'm just a witness to it, it's a tremendous blessing. That's very generous to me.
It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I think being a therapist for many years for me helped me train me in that, because when women come in and they're sharing their feelings and I help them, I create safety for them to share their feelings about what's going on in their life or their relationships, I'm never feeling blamed. I'm not being expected to change in any way. And there's a third element. I know there's a time limit on it. It's over in a while. And I'm getting paid. These are all things that keep you fully alert, and those are realities. And when you come home, so the woman comes to me for therapy, she comes home and expects her husband to do all that. when she's complaining about him. And
there is no clock
on
Bonnie, though.
Wait, what was that?
There's no clock on Bonnie.
Oh,
You don't tell her that we only have about 5 minutes left.
Guys, yeah, this is a 40-minute hour, Bonnie. That's a whole different dimension of heart that has to kick in.
Well, and the challenge, of course, with the spouse is there's a lot at stake. So, of course, it's different. We depend on the other person. This is we're almost out of time, so it's a horrible time to bring it up. But just the idea that do we really want a relationship where growth is built in, like that the imperative is that we grow. That is a really sophisticated relationship because, look, we organize back to getting our needs met. So to want someone to grow is counterintuitive, right? We want to keep things the same. So the idea that that there's enough of a vision of growth in the relationship is a higher order of relating.
I'm not going to let you respond to that, John, because we are running out of time, and I want you to tell folks where they can get their own copy of Staying Focused in a Hyper World.
It's only available on Amazon, so it just came out this week at Amazon. They can get it in ebook or in a paperback.
Okay, and we will have the link for that, as well as the link for, John, your website, which is still, it's Mars and Venus, right, .com?
It's MarsVenus.com.
MarsVenus.com. So we'll have that on the Cutting Edge Consciousness website. You can go there for that. John, thank you. We're going to have you back.
We need to have you in-house, in the building.
Yeah, when you're in Los Angeles, in the LA area, we'll get you in studio.
Anytime. I love you guys. This is fantastic. Thank you.
And then we know you won't be late. I'm just kidding.
Love you, John.
All right, John, take care. For those of you listening, we invite you to come back again because we'll be back next week here on Cutting Edge Consciousness. Thanks for listening.